Can I? Go ahead. Yeah, please.
Hi, thank you. My name is Eric Previn. I'm a longtime Studio City resident. I live above Carpenter Avenue. We have lots of traffic, so I'm familiar with people's traffic concerns, but we love the school, and it's really a public school. And one thing I'm a little bit concerned about is the perception that this is just like a public park, except for that there's a reservation system, and it's only for people who are sort of pre-vetted. And there's a lot of people in Studio City who now currently have access to this, what's always been a public recreation facility. And I respect Mr. Weddington for getting the highest price he could get, but I don't think that that's really what people who live here kind of opted into. And one big concern, and I know that this is early, it's early in the process, so I'm so excited. And also, by the way, I think the fact that you're not going to be able to influence any of the transportation studies or things like that, well, that's what the lobbyists are for. So you could consider Kaladians here tonight. Someone could help make the commitment about transportation. But for the purposes of really being fair to the community, the golf amenity and that corner, the particular corner with the facility where, oddly, perversely, they won't let you take pictures now. I guess they're concerned it's so quaint and rustic that let's just no photographs. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I was there with my kids, and I was restricted from taking a photograph of the place. Now, I don't know what cultural historic landmark. I always think they're kind of land use games. But I know Studio City. I've lived here for a long time. My kids played at Beaman. I went to Carpenter, and then Oakwood and Campbell Hall. So I'm not trying to, go public entirely. We respect private entities as well. But isn't there some way you could not have to hit a grand slam and maybe just take a double and put, one parking plan in one field in one smaller building? 3 high school regulation basketball courts in one structure there's a word for it. There's a word for it. It's a monstrosity. Okay, now, and I'm very happy to hear and see some of the people who I recognize from the group that came down in support of the monstrosity parking structure. We have to do a little less monstrosity, a little more community here in Studio City. And I think you're really close. I don't want to diminish. Remember, thank you, Barry. I wrote in the Daily News a short article that said how proud I was of the school for allowing us and their students and parents to love the school again, because nobody was enjoying the aircraft carrier in the hill. And I think we're close to finding a balance, but take away that golf amenity entirely, and you're really going to leave a void in people in Studio City's life.
Mr. Previn, I'll just thank you for your comment. Worth our consideration, and I appreciate very much that we're getting closer. Thank you.
Rick, could you give us the definition of what public are going to be able to access the property as you understand it now?
Under the current draft plan, the public will have access to the perimeter, the path around the perimeter, and to 6 acres of walkways, waterways, foliage, the river park as displayed on the screen. If I can go back to it.
Yeah.
I think
but it's also a question of, when you say public, do you mean what public?
I'm going to defer to those who have been thinking harder about those specific questions than I.
So when we say public access to the river park, the area in dark green is the river park. It's more than just a 50-foot setback. In some of these cases, this is hundreds of feet of wooded areas, of lawns, of plazas, of seating areas, of mature trees. That area is open to the general public, anybody, from sunrise to sunset every day of the year. I don't know how we can be any clearer than that. It is going to be a public park facility that Harvard Westlake secures and maintains, and as such, we hope that it's going to be the nicest public park in Studio City, and really in the city of Los Angeles. So we're going to have layers of perimeter security. The question has come up about how do we secure the facility for our students, and of course there are going to be perimeter security around the outside so that should we need to, we can lock down the entire facility, for example, at night, when we would lock down the entire facility, the same way that the River Greenway is in theory supposed to be locked down at night. It will be opened at sunrise, and it will stay open until sunset, absent some kind of emergency. There will be additional security perimeters that restrict access to the interior core of the property, and these are the areas that would be subject to a reservation system. Tennis, over here, is its own entity because the community has enjoyed tennis on this facility for years and years, and we're clearly aware of that. And so our approach to tennis is that it's going to be treated just the way it is today, which is that you can call up, you can get online, you can make a reservation. The only difference is that there are going to be certain hours on certain days where the courts are in use by Harvard Westlake and are not available. But for the rest of the time, from 7 in the morning until 2:30 or 3 o'clock when our athletes arrive, and then after 6 p.m. when they leave, those courts will be available to the public again. So that's an area of public access. The River Park is an area of public access, general use. And then the interior athletic amenities will be subject to stricter use, will be subject to reservation, and will be protected by a secured barrier.
So is that 6 acres?
Is the dark green what you're saying is 6 acres?
Yes.
And that's all property that you own, it's not part of
That is
the
correct.
county?
Yeah, that is correct. The River Greenway, should we be given the opportunity to improve it and maintain it, would add acreage to that 6.
And that calculation was done by your planners? The 6-acre calculation?
Yes.
Okay. And the other question was, who gets access? In other words, when you say public, are you talking about Studio City or San Fernando Valley, or
Yeah.
how do you define that?
So with respect to the dark green, it is the general public. It's anybody. Anybody who wants to travel in, just the way that people might walk across the street and use it if they live there, they might travel for miles and use the facility. So anything in the dark green is open to the general public.
And when that general public comes, they will have availability to park
Correct. Correct. Well,
without reservations?
there are about 30 surface spots here, and then there are going to be a couple hundred spots underground, and those will be available. The rest. Right. So we've had extensive conversations with the community so far, and the answer is that it's going to be available for public use by reservation. What we don't know is how broad that use is going to be. And honestly, it's an open question, and it's part of the reason that we're having this dialogue, and we'll continue to have this dialogue. We have heard from people who live directly across the street who want to see less public access. We've heard from people who live further away, who would like to see more public access, and it's our job to right-size it, and we'll make that determination over the course of the next 18 months.